All right, and welcome back to another weekend news roundup. I'm your host Draconis, and today we're going to cover topics like a new requirement for Destiny 2's Iron Banner event, due out this week, Nvidia hiring a position for their game studio, are they looking to cash in on nostalgia? I'll explain what I mean. A devilishly good surprise for the Arrowverse Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, say that 5 times fast, and several games that have recently released, plus a few other things. But first, if you like what you hear, a like or thumbs up is always appreciated, and if you don't want to miss out on our news updates or regular show on Wednesdays where we sit down and interview game developers from the 4 corners of the world about the games that they're making, be sure to give us a follow on your preferred social media platform. And if you're on YouTube, plink that notification bell as well. And lastly, if you think you might know someone that'd be interested in something we talk about, we can't thank you enough for sharing out our stuff. It really does go a long way, and it truly helps us out. So a big thank you for you for doing that. Now, without further ado, all right, this week, actually tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. British Standard Time, Iron Banner returns to Destiny 2, first one up in Season of the Undying. And this one has a slight difference. If you're interested in grinding for that cool set armor, because I gotta say, taking a look at this stuff, this is actually a really neat looking set of armor. Well worth the cosmetic for grinding to that stuff. But if you're interested in grinding for the armor, this one's going to have a little bit of a requirement that hasn't been present, or at least that I'm not familiar with, in the Iron Banner stuff. There's a seasonal pursuit that you're going to have to complete prior to being able to access the armor set. Up until that point, while you're grinding through Iron Banner, the rewards you get are going to be just the different weapon sets. But once you complete that seasonal pursuit, then you'll be able to start earning the armor sets and cashing in those tokens for more armor. So keep an eye out for that. Make sure you pay attention when you go talk to Lord Saladin and Iron Banner starts if you're interested in grinding for that armor set. Now, a while back, I think it was right around the time we were doing coverage of E3, we mentioned Werewolf the Apocalypse, Earthblood. And now it looks like they're going to be showing up at PDXCON 2019 in Berlin. So I'm kind of hoping that means that we'll get to see some juicy footage. But I guess I'm going to have to wait because it won't be till a little bit later this week. I think it was the 18th through the 20th, I think, is when the convention is. So, maybe after the weekend we'll get a chance to see something a little more from Werewolf. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. And if you're in Berlin and want to reach out and tell us what you've seen, our social media channels are open. Nvidia is looking to hire someone to help remaster some old games from, as they put it, past decades, and then update them for RTX. So I'm imagining things like, Doom seems like a pretty good candidate for that. But then there are also plenty of other games. I've even seen some stuff with Minecraft where the lighting effects and the water effects, once you apply, 4K textures and RTX is on, it's mind-blowing. So, the sky is the limit here. I could see Skyrim being one of the ones that they focus on. They do hint that there's a big game they're working on, but that they can't speak exactly what that game is. But if you are interested, there is a job posting. We'll make sure there's a link in the description. There's a job posting in California and Santa Clara where you could go to work for Lightspeed Studios if you're hired. So, if you thought that they couldn't fit any additional characters into the Arrowverse Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, which, we're getting all kinds of characters. Some of the stuff I've seen, I can't remember if it's all rumored or confirmed. A lot of it has been confirmed. But, Brandon Routh will be reprising his role as Superman, and part of it here, and they were also getting Tom Welling as Superman. I know they really wanted to. That one, I haven't seen whether it was confirmed or not. One I was a little disappointed to find out that wasn't going to be there was Laura Vandervoort. She played Supergirl in the Smallville series, and I kind of thought with all the other folks that they were getting, that would have been a little bit of a no-brainer, but I did see a post on Twitter from her not too long ago that I guess I wasn't the only one that was thinking that. There were a lot of people that had been reaching out to her, and she said that she hadn't heard anything, so I guess I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't seem to reach out to her at all, because I think that would have been cool to have her on the show as well. Have more than one Supergirl on the show, potentially. So anyway, it still looks to be like a massive event with, tons of different people playing different characters throughout, different TV shows and movies and stuff, kind of all coming together in this mashup, this Crisis on Infinite Earth. So if you're at all a fan of the show, or actually even if you're not, because my wife and I just recently started watching Lucifer, so I think we just started into season 2, and believe it or not, Lucifer is also, the TV series is based off of a DC comic book, and Tom Ellis, who plays Lucifer, will be appearing in Crisis on Infinite Earth. So the one thing right here, the first thing that comes to mind with this is I really want to see some kind of interaction between him and Constantine, and just see how that goes. I think that could be done, if done well. That could be a very interesting little plot point in this whole crossover. All right, and then before I get out of here today, there were several games that recently came out that we hadn't covered for one reason or another in our upcoming game segments. Of course, when we're trying to pick things that are coming out in the following month, when we do those, there's so many games to go through, and a lot of things either fall through the cracks, or there's just too many to go through. But these were a couple that kind of came across my desk that I found rather interesting, either for one reason or another. And we're going to start out with, I believe it's Noita, Noita. And you can find this on Steam. This one came out the end of September, and it's available on Windows 7, 8, and 10. And the really interesting thing about this, well, I guess I should say, first of all, Noita is a magical action roguelite 2D side-scrolling pixel platformer. Insert every single tag you can. But the cool thing about this is, so this is it's a 2D pixel platformer. The art style is kind of neat, but what makes it really stand out from other pixel platformers or other pixelated games is what they've said, that every pixel is simulated. So this leads to some really interesting and neat looking effects on the screen at times when you're casting spells and it interacts, with other things. Picture like, if you're familiar with Divinity Original Sin 2 and how the magic would interact with different environmental factors. Like, for instance, if there was a cloud of poison and you cast a fireball and it causes everything to, explode, you get different effects like that here. So in this game, you might run across some lava, and then you need to spread out some water, which causes the lava to turn into stone so you can walk across it. I do believe they have the poison clouds that catch on fire, and there's other things as well. But just looking at this, if you do nothing else than just go look at the trailer, I think that's worth your time. Even if it's not a game that you would regularly play. Just because the effects in here and the way that they've done it in a pixelated game, I think is actually rather neat. Now, the game is $17.99, based on the reviews on Steam thus far. It's got over 2,000 reviews, and folks have been rating it very positively. So, if you are into 2D pixel platformer games, this definitely could be something for you. All right, next game is Remote Life. This is another 2D side-scrolling game. This one is more of a space shooter, kind of reminiscent of the old-school arcade games. If you think of something like R-Type or Hellfire, or even more recently, something like Sinmora. Now, that is actually the reason why this game kind of stood out to me, is these were some of the games, whether it was a side-scroller or a bottom-to-top type shoot-'em-up bullet hell type thing, that I enjoyed playing in arcades and stuff when I was a kid. And so this is very reminiscent of those old types of titles where you're controlling a spaceship, shooting things, dodging, different ammunition and creatures and stuff on screen. It's a very space sci-fi, feel to it, but it's kind of a neat looking game. And if you're into the nostalgia of the old arcade games, if it's something you even just want to go check out, they have a demo that you can download from Steam. So you can even just go pull the demo and see if it's something that you'd like to play. And actually, that's something I wish more games would do. The demos used to be a thing all the time, and that kind of went away, and we just don't see that very much anymore. So I really appreciate that when a game puts out a demo, gives you an opportunity to try it, and then make up your mind whether or not you really want to pick up the game. But the game itself is only $18.99, and thus far only has 10 reviews, but it has been getting positive reviews so far. After that, the next one is Pine, and honestly, I'm not even sure. Like, this one came way out of left field, but it's an open world action adventure game, and the art style is kind of cartoony, or I should say not like super cartoony, but, you know, a mix of cartoony and kind of almost, but not quite realistic. The color palette, what I will say is the look of the game kind of reminds me a little bit of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Just the visual look of it, but with maybe a more muted color palette for the most part. This takes place in a world where the human beings are considered less smart than the other creatures that have evolved, and there's a whole host of anamorphic creatures that you'll run into: fox people, crocodile people, etc. Seen like deer and moose people, and I think at the end of one of the trailers there's even like this massive elephant person. So lots of options there as far as like different things or different races that you'll run into. They have 6 different biomes to go through, and one of the things that they say about this is that the way that they've built the game is that you're going to be able to explore, you'll be able to barter and trade with some of these other character races that you'll run into. There'll be communication options to talk to them, crafting options, and of course combat across the 6 different biomes. So they even said too that from what I was reading about the game, a lot of this stuff is it's simulated, so it goes on in the background whether you interact or not. So, you know, maybe 2 different creature types have a conflict on their borders and they go to war, and you could probably just sit back and watch that happen, or you could take part in it and try to help one side or the other or something like that. Visually, the game looks interesting. If you're into the open world adventure games, this could be something kind of fun. My only disappointment with this one was that it's only single player. I would have liked to have been able to play this at least co-op. I don't necessarily need the whole, MMO with this, although I could see this being built into an MMO someday, if that was something that the developers were interested in. But I would have liked to have seen this with co-op, unfortunately. The game is $24.99, currently 10% off until the 17th, and it's got over 200 reviews and is being reviewed mostly positive right now. All right, and then the next one is this one's a bit fun. BDSM, Big Drunk Satanic Massacre. So this is a top-down action RPG shooter. So I think of the recent Warhammer game, Inquisitor Martyr, I think it was, that came out. That was like a top-down shooting game. But this one is based in the Doom universe, and cover art and stuff like that very reminiscent of Doom. The hilarious thing about this is it switches the roles. There's a bunch of Doom Slayers or guys, I should say, in that marine armor, and in the middle of all of it is this demon or devil type character, on top of the mountain. So this one looks like cool. It looks like it's going to be fun. If you like top-down shooters, or if you even just like the Doom universe and want to check it out, you can go check it out on Steam. They are giving the soundtrack away for free. There is an adult-only patch that is available for free once you've purchased the game. And it is also $19.99, but also on sale for 10% off until the 17th. It currently has about 60 reviews and has been reviewed pretty positively thus far. Again, only disappointment with this one is that it's only single player. I think that this, you can say it about any game. Any game is more fun when you're playing with friends. But I really think games like this are so much more, like, I love to sit and play these with my friends. So that would be probably the only negative thing I have to say from having seen like the trailers and game imagery from this so far. That's the only bad thing I've got to say about it. And lastly is Killer Queen Black. Now this is another 2D not a kind of platformer type game. This is more of a competitive game though. You play in teams of 4. So it's, 2 teams of 4 against each other. And I guess you're basically like you're from opposing hives. And the objective for the 4 of you is, well, there's 3 different ways to win. So you can win what they call an economic victory, where you're going and grabbing these little things, these little dots, and bringing them back to the hive. And when you fill up your quote unquote bank or hive, then you win through, what they call an economic victory. You can win through a military victory, which is, defeating all of your opponents and, leaving none left on the field. And in that case, if you win that way, then it's kind of like a combat type victory, and you don't have to worry about, getting all of the little dots filled in. And then lastly, there's like this, I guess, little snail that goes across the screen, and you try to ride the snail to the finish line, and whichever team is able to pull that snail to their finish line first is the one that's able to win the match, and you can win the match through that. It's almost like if you think in Harry Potter, you know, they had all the different ways of scoring things, and a lot of times it would just come down to the golden snitch. If a team was able to get the golden snitch, in this case, the snail, then that team would win because it was worth so much, and that's the case with this, is it's an automatic win. So this looks like this could be a fun party game. This is, you know, something fun to play online with your friends. Against other people, if you like playing, you know, things like Duck Game, which was, you know, that one wasn't cooperative so much. It was, you know, a free for all, but it's same kind of thing where it's, you know, 2D and you're playing in this, you know, one screen field, and you know, this one at least you get to play with and against friends, so that's a plus in my book. It is $19.99, or you can pick up 4 copies for $59.99. So that's a $5 discount, or basically a buy 3, get 1 free. Currently, there's a little over 40 reviews, and they're sitting at positive. So again, if this is your kind of game, this could be something rather enjoyable for you. And if you have 3 other friends that you know, might like to pick up the game, and you guys get and play all together online, you can get a nice little discount for it. All right, that has been our weekend roundup. Thank you very much for sticking with me today. And come back on Wednesday. This Wednesday, we have a rather fun interview on our Rated R podcast that will air, you know, both on our podcasting client, on Facebook, on YouTube. This is about a game that's been in development for, I think he said, about 8 years at this point. So I know a lot of folks, maybe more recently, about a year or so, have become more aware of this game. And it's something we've been looking at for a little while. But yeah, come back on Wednesday for our interview with one of the developers from Felix the Reaper. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. This is a fun interview.